Welcome back to our podcast, where the stories behind the screen are told with all the respect and nostalgia they deserve. In 1987, the film Dirty Dancing was released and created a global phenomenon, with its story of a passionate love affair between an innocent young woman and a rebellious dancer during a fateful summer vacation. The work was not only a resounding commercial success, but also became an unforgettable part of an entire generation's memory. But behind these classic characters were actors with their own unique destinies. Nearly 4 decades have passed, and time has etched different marks on their lives. Some continued to shine brightly, some chose a quieter path, and some had to end their journeys in tragedy. Let's look back at the tumultuous journey of the cast who gave Dirty Dancing its soul. Jerry Orbach as Dr. Jake Houseman. In Dirty Dancing, the character of Dr. Jake Houseman is the stern yet loving father of Baby, a symbol of traditional values and the generation gap. With his righteous gaze and moments of unexpected warmth, Dr. Houseman left an indelible impression. Jerry Orbach's performance at the time, at the age of 52, brilliantly showcased the depth of a father who always wants to protect his daughter, even when he doesn't truly understand her. After the success of Dirty Dancing, Jerry Orbach's career continued to soar, but his life was a silent battle. Born on October 20th, 1935, he was a living legend of the Broadway stage long before becoming a familiar face on screen. His voice and acting talent earned him a prestigious Tony Award. However, behind that spotlight were years of fighting prostate cancer diagnosed in 1994. The disease not only ravaged his health, but also took a heavy psychological toll, especially after his first marriage fell apart. Yet Orbach did not surrender. He dedicated himself tirelessly for over a decade to the role of Detective Lenny Briscoe in the series Law Order, a role that became iconic and deeply loved by audiences. He worked even while enduring painful chemotherapy and radiation treatments, demonstrating extraordinary professionalism and resilience. What is most profound is the connection between the role and his life. On screen, Dr. Houseman is a man of principle, one who eventually admits his mistake with the classic line, "When I'm wrong, I say, I'm wrong." In real life, Jerry Orbach was also a man of great dignity, one who faced adversity with courage and determination, never letting illness stop him from dedicating himself to his art. However, that determined journey had to come to an end. On December 28, 2004, Jerry Orbach passed away at the age of 69 from cancer. His passing left a huge void in the hearts of his fans. The legacy he left behind is not just his immortal roles, but the story of an artist who fought to the very end and never lost his smile. Patrick Swayze as Johnny Castle. In Dirty Dancing, the character Johnny Castle is the rebellious soul, the dancer with seductive moves and a heart that yearns for freedom. With his passionate gaze and the immortal line, "Nobody puts Baby in a corner," Johnny left an indelible impression. Patrick Swayze's performance at the time, at the age of 35, turned him into a sex symbol and the dream man for millions of girls around the world. After the explosive success of Dirty Dancing, Patrick Swayze became one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Born on August 18, 1952, he continued to captivate audiences with diverse roles in classic films like Ghost and Point Break. His life seemed like a fairy tale, especially his 34-year love story with his wife Lisa Niemi, whom he met when he was just 16. However, their marriage also faced harsh challenges. Years of struggling with alcoholism nearly pushed them to the brink, but their love helped them overcome it all, mending one of Hollywood's most enduring romances. The greatest tragedy struck when he was diagnosed with late-stage pancreatic cancer, an almost certain death sentence. But once again, he did not surrender. He bravely fought the disease for 20 months, continuing to work and inspiring millions with his optimistic spirit and iron will. What is most profound is the strange connection between the role and his life. On screen, Johnny Castle is a fighter, someone who never accepts defeat. In real life, Patrick Swayze was also a true warrior, one who battled his own demons and faced his illness. With extraordinary courage, Johnny's never-give-up spirit seemed to have been woven into the actor's own life. However, that brave journey had to come to an end. On September 14, 2009, Patrick Swayze passed away at the age of 57. His passing left an immeasurable sense of loss. The legacy he left behind is not just his classic roles, but an inspiring life story of love struggle and never losing hope. Jack Weston as Max Kellerman. In Dirty Dancing, the character Max Kellerman is the resort owner, a man who is both humorous and pragmatic, who sets the stage for the entire story. With his cunning smile and a somewhat warm heart, Max Kellerman left an unforgettable impression. Jack Weston's performance at the time, at the age of 63, brought charm and depth to a character that could have easily been one-dimensional. Jack Weston's life was a long and quiet dedication to his art. Born on August 21, 1924, he was a familiar character actor on Broadway and in Hollywood, known for his ability to turn small parts into memorable highlights. He had a knack for playing humorous roles, ordinary men caught in extraordinary situations. However, behind the on-screen laughter was a personal life filled with quiet voids. His marriage to actress Marge Redmond ended after many years, leaving a loneliness that he seemed to carry for the rest of his life. He devoted himself entirely to his work, perhaps to fill the emptiness in his soul. What is most profound is the contrast between the role and his life on screen. Max Kellerman was a man always surrounded by the bustling activities of the resort. In real life, Jack Weston seemed to be a rather solitary man who found his joy and purpose in the craft of acting itself. However, that quiet journey had to end. Late in his life, Jack Weston was diagnosed with lymphoma. On May 3, 1996, he passed away at the age of 71. His passing closed the life of a diligent artist. The legacy he left is his charming roles, and the image of a smiling Max Kellerman, an indispensable part of that Dirty Dancing summer. Jennifer Grey as Frances Baby Houseman. In Dirty Dancing, the character Frances Baby Houseman is the heart of the story, the innocent young woman who finds love and herself through dance. Jennifer Grey, then 27, became an icon of youth and coming of age. After her resounding success, Jennifer Grey's life was shrouded in tragedy. Born on March 26, 1960, just weeks before the film's premiere, she was in a serious car accident that resulted in 2 fatalities. The guilt and psychological trauma forced her to take a long break from her career. In the early 90s, 2 nose surgeries completely changed her face, causing her career to nearly grind to a halt. But she did not give up. She turned to yoga meditation and a healthy lifestyle to overcome her loss and reconnect with herself. What is most profound is the connection between the role and her life. On screen, Baby is a girl who finds the strength and confidence to step out of her corner. In real life, Jennifer Grey also had to go through a long and difficult journey to find herself, again after tragedy and change. Baby's struggle on the dance floor was Jennifer Grey's struggle in real life. Today, at 65, Jennifer Grey is still active in the arts, publishing her memoir and participating in film and television projects. Her journey is a testament to the ability to overcome adversity and never let the past define the future. And she continues to inspire the next generation. Alvin Meyerowitz as Mr. Schumacher. In Dirty Dancing, the character Mr. Schumacher is the quiet husband of Mrs. Schumacher, who joins his wife in creating moments of humor. Although a small role, his presence contributed to the authentic family atmosphere. Alvin Meyerowicz's performance at the time, at the age of 82, brought a quiet warmth. Alvin Meyerowicz's life was a story of survival after tragedy. Born on December 24, 1905, he lived through one of the most turbulent periods in history. His greatest tragedy was losing his entire family in the war, a pain that led him to live in solitude for the rest of his life. Never remarrying, he dedicated his time to art, seeing every role, no matter how small, as a way to reconnect with life. What is most profound is the connection between the role and his life. On screen, Mr. Schumacher is a quiet man next to his vibrant wife. In real life, that silence perhaps reflected the pain and loneliness that Alvin Meyerowitz had to carry. Acting was perhaps the only way for him to express the emotions he could not put into words. However, that quiet journey also came to an end. On July 30th, 1996, Alvin Meyerowitz passed away at the age of 90 from natural causes. The legacy he left is a reminder that even the smallest roles can hide the deepest life stories. Paula Truman as Mrs. Schumacher. In Dirty Dancing, the character Mrs. Schumacher is a mischievous old lady who creates one of the film's funniest moments when she's caught stealing wallets. Although just a minor role, her appearance left a lasting impression. Paula Truman's performance at the time, at the incredible age of 90, proved that age is just a number. Paula Truman's life was an epic of endurance. Born on April 25, 1897, she was one of the oldest actresses ever to appear in a classic Hollywood film. Her career spanned over 70 years, beginning on the Broadway stage in the 1920s. However, her private life was tinged with loneliness. She was married to architect Harold Sterner, but their happy marriage ended with his death. Childless, she lived alone in her New York apartment for decades, quietly watching friends and colleagues pass away. What is most profound is the connection between the role and her life. On screen, Mrs. Schumacher brings laughter through her slyness. In real life, perhaps it was humor and a passion for acting that helped Paula Truman overcome the loneliness of old age. The character's smile was perhaps a rare spark of joy that she carried in her final years. However, that extraordinary journey had to come to an end. On March 23, 1994, Paula Truman passed away at the age of 96 from natural causes. The legacy she left is not just a humorous role, but a living testament to resilience and an undying love for her art. Gary Goodrow as Mo Pressman. In Dirty Dancing, the character Mo Pressman is a humorous guest who provides moments of lighthearted comedy. Gary Goodrow's performance at the time, at the age of 54, brought a naturalness and charm. In real life, Gary Goodrow was a well-known name in the American improv scene, born on November 4, 1933. He was a member of the legendary improv group, The Committee. However, immersed in the freewheeling artistic culture of the 1960s, he fell into alcohol and drug abuse, a lifestyle that gradually destroyed his health and spirit. What is most profound is the contrast between the role and his life. On screen, Mo Pressman was a character who brought joy. In real life, Gary Goodrow was a man who struggled with inner demons where laughter and darkness always walked side by side. However, that creative yet tumultuous journey had to come to an end. On July 22, 2014, Gary Goodrow passed away at the age of 80 from natural causes. His legacy is a reminder of a generation of artists who lived life to the fullest, both in their art and in their personal battles. Jennifer Stahl as a dancer. In Dirty Dancing, Jennifer Stahl was one of the background dancers, a young and beautiful face who contributed to the film's vibrant atmosphere. No one could have guessed that behind that brief moment was a life that would take a tragic turn. Born on April 11, 1966, Jennifer Stahl had a rebellious spirit. After her acting career didn't take off, she turned to singing and made a living selling marijuana. It started as a way to fund her musical dreams, but it inadvertently pulled her into a dangerous world. What is most profound is the tragic contrast between the role and her life. On screen, she was part of a world of dance filled with joy and life. In real life, she was drawn into an underworld fraught with danger where her artistic dreams were consumed by darkness. However, that promising journey had to come to a horrifying end. On May 10, 2001, at the age of 35, Jennifer Stahl was shot and killed in her apartment during a drug-related robbery. Her passing left a painful story of a young talent who lost her way. Charles Honey Coles as Tito Suarez. In Dirty Dancing, the character Tito Suarez is the band leader. an elegant man who brings the soul of music and dance to the resort, with his masterful tap-dancing steps. Tito left an unforgettable impression. Charles Honey Colas' performance at the time, at the age of 76, brought the grace and class of a legend. In real life, Charles Honey Coles was a living legend of the art of tap dance. Born on April 2, 1911, he was one of the greatest tap dancers of the 20th century. However, his career was a constant battle against the limits of his body. A serious leg injury nearly ended his career, and he had to endure a lifetime of rigorous training to continue performing. Persistent physical pain was the price he paid for perfection on stage. What is most profound is the parallel between the role and his life. On screen, Tito Suarez was an artist who carried the legacy of an era within him. In real life, Charles Honey Coles was himself a living legacy, a man who dedicated his entire life to keeping the flame of tap dance alive. However, that dedicated journey had to come to an end. After a long battle with lung cancer on November 12, 1992, Charles Honey Coles passed away at the age of 81. The legacy he left is his immortal dance steps and the image of the elegant Tito Suarez, an indispensable part of Dirty Dancing. Max Cantor as Robbie Gould. In Dirty Dancing, the character Robbie Gould is the detestable villain, a wealthy, charming, but selfish and irresponsible medical student. With his smug smile and the line, "Some people are losers, some people are winners," Robbie left a deep and unforgettable impression. Max Cantor's performance at the time, at the age of 28, hauntingly portrayed the cruelty hidden behind a polished exterior. Max Cantor's life was a heartbreaking tragedy, a cautionary tale about the pitfalls of the world. Born on May 15, 1959, into a prestigious family growing up in the Dakota Building and befriending John Lennon, a Harvard graduate, Cantor had an incredibly bright future. But after the success of Dirty Dancing, he left Hollywood to pursue journalism. This change pulled him into a darker world. While investigating a gruesome murder, he became obsessed and began to spiral into drug use. The vortex of addiction quickly consumed the young man's talent and potential. What is most profound is the tragic connection between the role and his life. It seems the role of Robbie Gould was strangely mirrored in his own life. On screen, Robbie was a character who had everything but was destroyed by his own selfishness and immorality. In real life, Max Cantor, a man who also had everything, talent, intelligence, and family background, was ultimately destroyed by the darkness of addiction. However, that promising journey had to come to a tragic end. On October 3, 1991, Max Cantor was found dead in his apartment at the age of 32 from a drug overdose. His passing left a huge void. The legacy he left is not just one of the most hated villains, but a profound life story about wasted talent,